You know we love spooky things. This is why we fell in love with Michigan-based Lynn B Designs. When I popped the pumpkin spice all the things wax melt into my burner, my home was filled with the delicious buttery scent. Plus, there's the wide variety of gorgeous nail polishes with themes like Hocus Pocus and Pleasant Peninsula. All products are vegan and cruelty-free, and you can find monthly sales on Facebook and Instagram at Lynn B Designs. Head to lynnbdesigns.store today. Again, that's LYNB designs.store.
We love them. We love you. It's great nail polish. It's the best I've ever used. Thanks. We're not starting this like normal, so welcome to the season 4 finale of Haunted Mitten. You know how season finales go by now. We do whatever we want. That's the beauty of running your own podcast.
It's true.
We get to do whatever the hell we want. So today, Krista and I are joined by Greg Pizzino, Krista's husband, author, actor, brilliant Krampus impersonator.
Yep, he's wearing his Krampus sweater vest because he actually does have other sweaters as well.
Yeah, it is the closest thing I have to an actual like cryptid, anything.
That's fine.
I do. I guess I do have the El Chupacabra burritos.
That's true.
T-shirt,
the t-shirt,
yeah, from Seattle. Yeah.
Fuck yeah, you do.
Really good burritos,
Oh
man.
my god, so good.
So good.
I hope they're still around, man.
Shout out.
That was way pre-pandemic.
Right. Yeah. That's the trouble with, wanting to talk about anything you loved pre-March 2020.
I mean, I've gone through that before because I can't talk about like half the stuff that I knew when I lived in New Orleans because it was all pre-Katrina. It's all gone.
It's all gone at least twice over, if not 3 times over at this point. My BFF Max was just in New Orleans, and he was like, "What do I do? What do I see? Where do I eat?" And I was like, "Nothing I know exists anymore."
Yeah, there's still a couple of places that were very dear to me that survived, that still exist.
I was
fortunately, so yeah.
Oh, you could eat here. We had a great sandwich over here, and I was like, you might want to Google this first because nothing I knew exists anymore.
Or they changed names, or
yeah. The neutral ground is still there, which was the important one for me because that got me that place got me through college.
Right.
Napoleon House is still there.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
No, he went to a bunch of places like I've definitely never heard of, but it was all fantastic, I guess. So,
that's good.
Anyway, so we're here to do our regular season, end of season stuff, which is just tell you weird stories that don't fit into a whole podcast.
Which started because of COVID.
Which started because of COVID.
Because we lost this studio, in fact.
Actually, we did. Yeah, they were like, oh crap, what do we do?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is way fancier than the last time I was here.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Last time we were recording in my kitchen.
Correct.
It's true.
I know. Now we don't have to record in the kitchen. We can. We shouldn't.
Nope.
And Greg has so wonderfully volunteered to teach us things today.
Yeah, you could honestly do an entire episode about about what we're going to talk about. So there's enough information and other stories and things that you could probably do in an episode.
That's fair.
Right?
It's on the list. Over 200 pages.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to split it into 2 documents because my laptop couldn't take it anymore.
It wouldn't open it anymore.
And I had trouble finding like anything that I knew you guys hadn't done. I was like, what's a story that I know that you guys haven't done?
I know. I would like to go through the docs now, multiple, and like put a little red mark.
Like highlight the things we've done,
like an Excel file or something.
Yes. Yeah, I need to make a spreadsheet.
Where you talked about, like what you talked about, and on which episode it was, so that you can go back and.
Yes,
I feel like some things we've talked about didn't even make it into the doc.
Some things don't. A lot of the things from the season finale have not. I have started to, but like Greg, when you were asking, like, oh, have you done this? Have you done this? I'm like, I don't fucking know. Maybe. As soon as we're done with it, it's out of my head. It's like a test.
Yeah.
It's gone, man.
Well, and the only reason I have trouble remembering sometimes is because I wrote most of that
Yeah.
doc. So
Yes, you did.
So I have most of that in my head. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, I include things in the show notes. If you go to hauntedmitten.com, it
Yeah.
should say in the description what we talk about
Mhm.
with links to all of the things in the doc.
That will hopefully be published one day. Whatever.
Just in a better format.
Just not the way it looks now. Which isn't to say it's not organized, because you did a great job. But
It's not always uniform because I
It's
don't
not
always enter things the same way.
and you can tell when I have entered something because it's just a bunch of links with no organization whatsoever.
And I learned to actually quote things from the links because so many of those links are dead now.
Oh yeah,
Ah.
I need to do that.
So,
I'll get there.
because I've gone to like double check something for an episode, and I'm like, oh, it's a dead link. Awesome.
Great.
Good thing I copied the thing I needed from it.
Yeah, I'm happy you did that too. Thanks.
And a few places, again, because of COVID, have closed.
Yeah.
So.
All right, Greg, take it away.
Am I going to go first or you going to go first?
I can. I don't know. We don't
You
have
sound
plans for
doubtful.
this.
I don't know.
Whatever.
Who has
Okay.
the longer thing?
I got the longer thing, I'm sure.
He has a longer thing, so
Yeah.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Okay, so our first story is not necessarily paranormal, although I don't know, his stomach might be considered some kind of supernatural entity.
Oh, goody. Can't wait.
So this is the tale of the Ogre of Saney. And I hope, dear 300 Sanians, that I am pronouncing it correctly. Saney began as a railroad stop in 1881. It quickly turned into a logging community, as it is in the Upper Peninsula. And with the influx of over 3,000 people, most of them lumbermen, the town basically turned into a giant drunken brawl.
Sounds like Bay City.
Yeah, it does. Sounds like a lot of Michigan. Let's be fair. According to WFMK, quote, saloons and taverns, gambling shacks, flea bag inns, and whorehouses basically made up the whole town. It drew in the boisterous, the brave, the soulless, and the meanest. Things would get so out of control every weekend that the town's Boot Hill Cemetery was burying new occupants every week. End quote. In the midst of that brawl was P.K. Small, better known as Snapjaw. Like I said earlier, this story isn't going to be terribly paranormal unless you count Snapjaw's very odd ability. This man would do anything for a cent. Specifically, he would eat anything. Among the more terrible things people are said to have dared him to eat were fresh horse manure, the heads of animals, including lizards, birds, and possibly squirrels. I don't know why that was in contention. We're just going to say squirrels. And other people's spit.
Ugh.
He was paid to go spittoon diving for money.
God.
Oh, God.
And think about where these spittoons were.
Oh, gross. I'm glad to get this story out of the way.
I don't know. I think I should have gone first so I could leave early.
No, you're staying. You're in now. And apparently his nose had been bitten or somehow taken off and then was sewed back on by someone who was very much not a professional tailor. His appearance and his unusual way of getting money earned him the nickname the owner of Saney. Unfortunately, Saney itself didn't last long as a booming drunken town. When the lumber dried up, so did the alcohol, and the town is down to roughly 300 people. But did you know that Hemingway also visited Saney?
That makes sense. Why am I not surprised?
Like, oh, no, okay, that's fine. He came to fish and included the town in the story, the Big Two-Hearted River, which might sound familiar, even if you've never read Hemingway. It's kind of the beer. It's a really famous beer
Yeah.
here in Michigan.
Oh, is that where Two Heart comes from?
That's where Two Heart comes from.
Yeah.
He lamented the loss of so many saloons, as he would.
Oh, yeah. Yep. hmm
And today you can visit the probably haunted Boot Hill Cemetery. I actually think it's in our doc. We just haven't written about it yet.
Probably. There are so many cemeteries.
There's
Oh, my
a lot.
gosh.
Or the Historical Museum, which has a website that is still working and gives very limited by appointment tours. Or go fishing, or you can drink a lot as Hemingway would have wanted it.
Yes.
And that's it on the Ogre of Sandy. That's
Okay.
just
That's disgusting.
That's what that guy did.
Yeah.
That's what he did for a living. I'm pretty sure he didn't actually have a job.
And didn't he supposedly stay there after the town went belly up or something like that? Like he was one of the
Probably.
last people to leave, or
I mean,
or
if
he
that's
died
how he
there
made a
some
living,
other-
then he's not
Yeah.
really reliant on the lumber.
yeah,
And like, where the hell else is he gonna go?
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Mm.
Take it to the big city. Take it on the road.
Ew.
Yeah.
I mean, he was basically doing like a circus geek act.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
You know, he was biting heads off chickens and stuff.
And he
right?
looked like Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, he was basically doing a circus sideshow act.
Yeah. But on his own
Yeah,
in a lumbering town
yeah.
that was
I
just
mean-
saloons.
They needed entertainment somehow.
I feel like they had enough, but okay.
Clearly not. Did they have a haunted opera house?
I mean, I guess is it any weirder than like doing a sourdough cocktail or whatever the
Ugh.
other thing is? Yeah.
Yeah, things I will never, ever do. Ever.
No, God, no. The tequila with the stink in it. Nope, not doing it.
Nope.
Not doing it. All right, go for it, my friend.
All right. So, Kimmy, I don't know how familiar you are with Boblo Island. I know Krista is, but you are not from Michigan.
I'm
so-
not. Kind of. Like, I've seen it on websites when I'm doing research.
Okay.
Yeah,
But that's
it would have been long closed before you moved here.
Oh, yeah.
Or even visited me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I went with my
Not
Girl
much.
Scout troop when I was a kid.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I know I went there once when we were kids. And I don't remember the island itself. What I remember is as a child, the ferry ride there was torturously long, and we were so bored.
See, and I remember having fun because I was with a bunch of small children and we just like ran all over the place. 'cause,
Right.
You know. But I remember the bumper cars because that was my favorite. And I refused to go on the roller coasters. So I mostly just did
The
bumper
correct
cars over and
choice.
over again.
Yes, the correct choice.
So Boblo Island was an amusement park, kind of akin to like a Coney Island type thing.
Okay.
On the Detroit River. It's technically, it is on Bois Blanc Island.
No, it's still pronounced Boblo.
Is it still pronounced Boblo?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why
What the fuck?
that's pronounced Boblo. That's where the theme park got its name.
Yes.
They just spelled it phonetically, like Chef Boyardee.
Okay.
All right.
Sure.
Okay.
All right, we'll go
Yeah.
with it.
It's in modern French it'd be Bois Blanc,
Yeah.
but which is what, white woods?
Yes, because of the
believe.
birch
Oh,
trees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of
And
birch up that
the-
way.
Oh.
I had
okay.
found what the local tribes called it, and then I lost the name and I couldn't find it again.
Okay.
But it translated to the same thing. It translated to
That
white
makes
wood.
sense. A
Okay.
lot of things,
So-
actually, a lot of French names in Michigan and surrounding areas, I'm sure, are just the French translation of what the native tribes said
Yeah.
it was called.
Oh yeah, they just said it back.
Yeah,
in
the French were like, "What's this place called?" And they're like, "Oh, we call it this." And like, "What's that mean?" Okay, cool, we're gonna call it that.
hmm
Oh, cool. Thanks for the name.
But
Now
probably,
leave.
probably the French at the time would have been like Bois Blanc, and then
Mhm,
people just like Boblo, whatever,
Oh,
Well,
right. Because
and-
they're
or
stupid.
or Boisblo.
And there were
Would've been like
also
Pueblo,
multiple
French Canadian.
islands around there with that same name.
Great.
They just called all of them the same thing because
Great.
they all had the same white birch growing on them.
Yeah, because I think there's one up north too.
Yeah.
by Mackinac Island.
Yeah.
Oops.
Cool.
But
Yeah.
among the ghosts of the island are supposedly two British soldiers, and Fort Amherst was there,
Okay.
and it's now Fort Malden.
Okay.
But there were two British soldiers who supposedly were killed there. They were deserters. Their commanding officer put a bounty out on them, and the local tribes killed them
Oh
to
shit.
collect the bounty.
Okay.
There were something like 7 local tribes that were friendly to the British at the time who lived on the island.
Okay.
So these two...
Wait, how big is this island?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, that's kind of big.
Yeah, it's...
Or it was just a meeting place.
Yeah, it was considered to be of strategic importance once the U.S. took Detroit.
Okay, so big enough that you could like station people there.
Yeah, there was a fort.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is technically part of, I think, Amherstburg, Ontario.
Oh.
Yeah. Now there are condos and things like that. It's a like high-end, not exactly resort community, but kind of.
Sure. Okay.
That is what they turned it into.
Michigan's version of a resort community.
Yes.
Well, Canada's version.
Canada's version of it. Yeah.
It served as Tecumseh's headquarters for a while.
Oh.
Yeah. So he was there on the island. And then Dillinger's ghost is supposedly seen there because he had a hideout on the island
Oh,
for
I
a
was
bit.
like, what the fuck is Dillinger doing
Yes.
there?
I did like one of the sources that I saw that reported about Dillinger's ghost insisted, well, that can't be true because he didn't die there. I'm like, is he only supposed to show up in that alleyway in Chicago or wherever? Is that it?
Probably ain't how that works, but we don't know.
Yeah, I hate that as an excuse. Or like, ghosts can't exist because nobody died here, so it can't be haunted.
Right.
I'm like, okay.
Those are some leaps in logic, my friend.
Yeah, that's given the number of different types of haunting that have been kind of acknowledged. You know,
Right.
things like stone tape recording, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
No, somebody dying there is not the only way
No.
that happens. That's just dumb. I call baloney.
I said baloney, sir.
Baloney machine. Yeah, I'm trying to make this story not a baloney machine. Shout out to the Newkirks.
Shout out to shout outs. Sorry.
Yeah.
They have a podcast called Haunted Objects Pod. It's great. It's hilarious. They are really funny people. Go on. Anyway, go on. I mentioned them a lot.
And then there are the traditional like glowing orb lights and things that people see that for some reason are associated with island hauntings. I don't know why. Like every island haunting you ever see always has glowing lights. There's phantom lights.
My
Okay.
guess would be like fairy lights.
Something. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Because I
Because
know-
islands tend to be wet
Yeah.
just by
Yeah.
their very nature.
Yeah.
The Hawaiian Islands have that story a lot.
Well, and Oak Island, like the thing
Oh,
that
yeah.
that
That's
drew the original story, you know, the person in the story about Oak Island that kicked the whole thing off was that he saw phantom lights on the island,
Yeah.
and then he rode over there. That was what made him go there in the first place.
Right.
So, something about islands and hauntings and ghostly lights. I don't know why.
Interesting.
Boblo Park, which later became Boblo Island Amusement Park, was opened by the Detroit, Belle Isle, and Windsor Ferry Company in 1898. It was the city of Detroit's answer, essentially, to Coney Island.
Yeah.
That
That's
was that
old.
type of park.
Yeah.
And it was basically an urban amusement park. It wasn't really a theme park, per se.
Right.
You got to the park by two ferries, the SS Columbia and the SS St. Clair.
Okay.
They were two steamships that were built in 1902, which are now the last of their kind.
I was going to say, well, and when did they sink? Because I'm used to talking about shipwrecks.
Oh, no. They're,
No.
yeah.
They're still around.
They are commonly referred to as the Boblo boats, because that's basically the only thing they were ever used for was
Okay.
to get to Boblo Island.
That I've heard
Like
of.
I didn't even know they had names. They were just
Yeah.
the Boblo boats.
Right. And, you know, growing up, I assumed that there were more of them. That wasn't just two.
I
but,
never thought of it.
But you could hold, I think it was up to 2,500 people per ship.
Damn.
They held a lot, which tells you how popular the parks were.
Oh,
yeah.
extremely. Because
Yeah.
it was like one of the only things you could do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine having an urban amusement park like that here now? Like,
Awesome.
That'd be pretty great.
Yeah.
There's a couple in Southern California that are like just little amusement parks that are Coney
Right.
Island style.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have like Michigan Adventure.
Yeah.
And Cedar Point, which isn't even in Michigan.
No, but we
But we
took
have
it,
it.
but we claimed it.
Yeah, I've been there several
Sorry.
times. I've been there on school trips. We went there for our 8th grade farewell.
Yeah.
We went to Cedar Point.
Where you go, man?
yeah, like
what
you
we got.
wouldn't have to travel all the way down to Sandusky to go to Cedar Point.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we did drive out from Kalamazoo to
Yeah.
go to Boblo Island.
Yeah. Cedar Point is a little bit of a hike. It's not a short, not a short drive.
Especially from Kalamazoo.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. But both the ships featured dance halls. They were the first ships in the U.S. to have dance halls.
Goodness,
They had arcades, and they also had snack bars.
I could live here.
Very important. Yeah.
It was a trip.
The park itself featured either the largest dance hall or the second largest dance hall. I've seen both in the U.S. at the time of its construction, which was financed by Henry Ford.
That makes sense.
Yeah. The dance hall was built, I think, in 1913, and that building actually still stands.
Remember when we liked dance as like a culture? I don't do that anymore. Anyway.
I miss dance.
Do the kids these days, do they dance?
I blame baptism for the downfall
hey.
of white people dancing.
I've seen Wednesday. Yes.
It's true.
I haven't yet.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's excellent. It's really good, actually.
oh, it's so good.
It's delightful.
Tell my loving, wonderful husband to stop watching reruns of Forged in Fire. We will.
Is there a way to just block it?
Ooh.
I love you, Aaron.
put the child lock on there.
Yeah. Just be like, no, I don't know what
Inappropriate
happened. It's not
I
working.
don't know. No, he's learning things. It's
Yeah.
fine. It's educational.
Repetitive viewings.
It's educational.
Maybe he just needs a second TV.
Mm.
I was going to say we have one, but no, we gave it away.
You could like set that up on the side, and you can have
Put it
like,
out in the garage where he's working.
both
Yeah.
going at the same time.
Put it out in the garage. Then I'll never see him again.
It's true. We saw him on the way in.
Gone forever. Yeah, it's his lunch hour.
Yeah. Lord. So among the other attractions at Boblo Island were the swan boats, bumper cars. There were 3 roller coasters, at least one of which still survives. It was at Astro World for a while after the park closed down, and then it moved to another park in Texas.
Oh.
Yeah. There was a Space Needle, which was one of the last things to survive as far as the rides go. In fact, I think it was the last ride to survive.
I'm pretty sure I took that too, and I think I remember the swan boats.
Yeah,
maybe, or
this-
What does
swan
the
boats being
Space Needle do?
around?
It just goes up, and it's just an observation tower that goes up and down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Actually, that was only demolished in 2021
Oh.
by the current owners of the property because they finally decided that it was a safety risk. And they were probably tired of people trying to climb it and putting the video on YouTube.
Yeah,
Probably. Don't film your crimes.
You don't film your crime.
yeah. It was weird watching videos of it being all overgrown because I'm like, I remember this. One.
Yeah.
Been on
Yeah.
it. I know that's got to
Like
be weird.
Especially the videos of like the bumper car area. Because I'm like, yep, that's it.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
I remember it quite vividly.
And I think the
It's
bumper car pavilion is still
weird.
there.
Last I knew it was.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been a few years, but yeah, because I saw videos on YouTube, and it was like, oh,
Yeah,
this
that's
is
gotta be
weird.
I mean, I come from the land where nothing old stays.
Yeah.
So like I'm like, oh wow, I've never that's not an experience that I've ever had. That's crazy.
Mhm.
It was really weird.
There was also a log flume, a zoo, a theater, a miniature railroad, and a number of other things among the attractions. Now, I will remind you, this is private property these days. Don't. You can get over to Boblo Island because it's residential over there, you know.
If you boat
But
over,
the park itself is private property. So, do
So
not.
we're not.
Yeah,
we're
we're
not
not endorsing
condoning.
you to screwing around over there, and putting your crimes on YouTube. Don't do that.
No, but however, email us about them and tell us if you saw anything weird.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not
although
condoning it, but
are people in Ontario as likely as people in Michigan to patrol with shotguns?
I don't know. I did watch a video, and I didn't look to see when it was shot, but it had to be relatively recent, of somebody wandering around, looking at the different buildings. He went to the dock where the boats would land. He went to, you could see the bumper car pavilion. He found the bathrooms. He found the dance hall.
okay.
And then he got chased off by a security pickup truck. He
Oh,
told him to
okay.
get out of there. But he was also like up close to the buildings. He was like looking in windows and stuff. So he looked like he was gonna,
You look like
He
you're,
looked
being weird.
Yeah, might have been up to
Yeah.
no good.
yeah.
He wasn't having a picnic.
Right. Yeah. If he was just like walking around, then they may not have hassled him as much. I don't know.
I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, there have been a number of places we've talked about on the podcast where it's like, be careful because you might get shot by someone with a shotgun.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
This has come up multiple times.
Yeah. Parashaney,
Yeah.
don't wander through. You will die. And it has nothing to do with the paranormal.
Yeah. It's Michigan folk don't really think twice about shooting people with shotguns if they're on their property.
Correct.
The Boblo boats and the park itself were the focus of a Supreme Court case during the Civil Rights Movement
Go on.
that led to both of them being forced to desegregate in 1948. The case is in
that.
1948. I don't know when they specifically desegregated, but it was close to that. So it predated, actually, the initial event predated Rosa Parks.
Wow.
And was part of what led to desegregation. One of the arguments was that, well, you can't tell us what to do because the island is in Canada. And the Supreme Court said, the hell we can't because your boat is in the U.S.
Ooh. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Take that.
International incident. Woo!
Yeah,
I know.
pretty
Like, wow.
Well, originally what they had planned to do was they were going to build a separate park for black people.
Oh.
And then when this case came up, they decided they were not going to do that. They were just going to desegregate the park.
Right.
So.
Like the correct course of action.
Yeah, the correct.
Correct.
thing to do.
Yes. Yes. Ferry service ended in 1991 from the Detroit side, and that began essentially a quick decline of the park, which then closed its doors for good
Probably
in
about the time I
93.
was there. 90.
Yeah, it would have been.
Mhm.
Yeah, we would have been.
If I was in Girl Scouts, I was in school.
Yeah.
So
Right.
So various efforts have been made to rescue the surviving Columbia and St. Clair, the two boats,
Yeah.
as well as to develop the park property. It went through a number of hands before it finally closed down permanently, and they've tried to do other things with it, and it's never really worked out.
Mhm.
But the boats both survive.
That's cool.
The Columbia was moved to Buffalo, New York for refurbishments because it was the cheapest place that they could do it.
Okay.
Originally, it was in Toledo, and then they moved it to Buffalo.
Okay.
The St. Clair suffered a catastrophic fire in 2018.
Ooh.
That
I
destroyed,
remember this too.
Yeah, so
We
do
were
I.
reading about it.
It destroyed many of the original wood features, and among them, the ship's mahogany staircase
No.
was the big thing.
Yeah.
But the actual hull survived,
Okay.
and so it's part of a rebuilding effort right now in Detroit,
Oh, that's cool.
and it continues to undergo repairs.
Mm-hmm.
Both the ships are rumored to be haunted,
Hell yeah.
and I could only find like a little bit of information on either one of these hauntings. I couldn't find the direct like interviews or anything like that these sources did. But workers on the St. Clair have reported hearing phantom crewmen and guests when the ship is empty, other than them. The Columbia boasts Detroit comedian, actor, and the voice of Underdog, Wally Cox, as its resident ghost.
Somehow.
Somehow, the only info I could dig up was a single CBS article, but it was CBS, so I was like, well, I
That's
feel
fine.
I feel like it's kind of trustworthy, I guess.
I
You
guess.
know, it's a major news outlet or whatever.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's no better or worse than anything we would find.
Right. I can't
It's better than
find
Probably better.
any
Some of the
explanation
websites.
as to why Wally Cox specifically haunts that ship, other than that he was from Detroit. There's no specific connection between him and Boblo Island or the Boblo boats or anything.
Cool.
That
there-
you could find it at least.
yeah,
Because it's, I mean, maybe he performed there. Yeah.
I don't know. So Wally Cox's story was kind of interesting, though. 'Cause he and Marlon Brando grew up together, and they were very close friends, possibly more than that.
Ooh.
Ooh. He started out as a comedian. He then moved into television. He was on a show called Mr. Peepers that he became famous for. He was kind of a, you know, he had a very specific look. We'll put it that way. That made Kimmy's gonna look it up right now.
Google.
Yeah, like you
I
see a
need the
picture of the guy
Google.
and you go, no, that's Mr. Peepers. But he was the whole show was about him being a science teacher, and he was kind of a nerd. And his romantic interest was a lady who worked at the school. I don't remember. Yeah, Kimmy's. Yeah,
Okay,
exactly. That looks like a
familiar.
Mr. Peepers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But he got typecast in that role, which he kind of resented. He did not appreciate that. But then, yeah, he later, like, you know, I think today people would mainly recognize him as he was the voice of Underdog. Yeah, there you go. There's him young.
Yeah, I remember Underdog.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But he and Marlon Brando, yeah, grew up together since I think they were 9 years old. So they knew each other
Aw.
from a very young age. And they were both super into motorcycles. And so they also kind of bonded over that. When Wally Cox died of a heart attack at only 48, he died real young.
Oof.
He asked that no funeral service be performed. He didn't want, you know, anything to kind of happen. And they had him cremated.
Okay.
And he asked that his ashes be scattered at sea. Well, supposedly Marlon Brando showed up at his memorial unannounced, and he got hold of the ashes. I don't know how,
It was
But
like,
until
this
the
urn,
end-
it's
Grab
mine.
the
Yeah.
urn.
but until the end of his life, he supposedly had the ashes in his bedroom and would talk to them at night. And he is quoted as saying that if Wally Cox had been a woman, that he and Wally would have been married and lived happily.
Oh, babies.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Oh.
So they were very close. I mean, they were.
They were close.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wally
I
Cox
didn't
had.
know Marlon Brando was anything but manly straight. I guess I should.
Oh no! Well, I
Really?
mean, Marlon Brando was notoriously
Oh.
like closeted bi.
Got it.
He supposedly was also James Dean's lover.
All the best people are bisexual.
That's true.
Yeah.
Some terrible people are bisexual as
Oh
well.
yeah. No, it's no. Oh.
Kirsten Cinema looking at you.
She's just insane. It's fine.
But yeah, I could not find anything relating to Boblo or the boats or anything that would lead me to go, oh, that's why Wally Cox haunts that boat.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know. It's like somebody was doing an EVP session or like a ghost box and got like
Got underdog?
Yeah.
they were like, oh crap.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, the time that he was around, he would have gone to Boblo Island more than likely.
Sure.
Maybe
yeah,
he was
sure.
maybe he just really dug Boblo Island. I don't know. He really liked riding the boat. I
don't know.
don't know. But they have identified him as the Columbia's resident ghost.
Cool.
So there you go.
Sweet.
The ghost story that really interests me, however, is Smiley the Magician.
It would. All
Yeah.
of that would interest you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? I told you, you're not going to be surprised at all.
No.
And he said, like, for some reason, I'm like, because it's a magician. That's why.
Yeah.
His
like,
name is Smiley.
this is a story that, like, any other day I would write this off as just being crap. I really would. But there was something about this story that grabbed me, and I was like, I really want to dig down on this story and see if I can confirm any of this. So this story comes from a website called YourGhostStories.com. It's a place where you go and you publish your personal
Yeah.
supernatural experiences.
Yeah.
Yep. I think I've used them on the podcast before.
Probably.
If
Okay.
not, they're in the doc.
Yeah.
It's somewhere.
So again, no more or less legitimate than any place else where people tell their personal experiences,
Pretty much.
with the paranormal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our favorite place is the comment section for paranormal stuff.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
Yes. So that's what it is. The website you publish your paranormal experiences. This was originally posted December 15th, 2014. Today is December 14th.
Damn.
It will be 8 years tomorrow. The day after tomorrow, the documentary that I'll talk about a little bit later about Boblo Island and the boats has its Ann Arbor debut on the 16th at the Michigan Theater.
Oh, snap.
So, call it coincidence or call it the phenomenon messing with you,
Sure.
whatever you want to
Cool.
do. So I thought that
Cool
was
or
kind of
whatever it
cute.
is.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
well, that's a cute little
All right.
yeah. The poster worked as a young man doing various jobs at Boblo Island at the amusement park. During his off hours, because most of his shifts were half day, he would hang out around the theater because there were cute chorus girls there,
Yeah, there were.
and there were always like rotating magicians and stuff. So there was always something to do. And he would just kind of hang out there, and he knew the people who worked backstage, and that kind of stuff. So that was how he heard the story of Smiley Smilovich.
I hate this already.
Now the guy
He's
who
not a clown.
he's not a clown.
Really? Because he sounds like
He
one.
kind of does. He's no Shivy the clown.
He's no Chivy. It's true.
Yeah.
Oh, Shivy.
Now, the guy who posted this story, he openly expresses his doubts about the veracity of Smiley's story, because Smiley's story comes off as like the summer camp urban legend
Sure.
type of thing. You know what I mean? Like it's very unbelievable.
Mhm.
I am 100% certain that it is total crap. Truth be told. But as it was told to him by one of the older magicians who worked at the theater, who'd been with the park for years and years and years, Smiley Smilovich had been an associate and an apprentice to Harry Houdini.
Okay.
He was so close, in fact, that he visited Houdini in the hospital the night of his death, and had talked with Houdini about like how his tricks were done. He had been an assistant, so he knew how his current tricks were done. But Houdini supposedly confided in him ideas for new things that he had not gotten to do yet. Okay. After the death of his mentor, Smiley became a magician in his own right, performing in vaudeville, and then going over to Boblo through the 30s and 40s. And Boblo was a pretty good paying gig, I guess, at the time. across the country and perform at different theaters. According to the story, Smiley died performing his version of one of Houdini's tricks. Smiley climbed into a locked trunk, which was then set on fire, and he would escape from the trunk,
Sure.
right? But on the night that he died, Smiley didn't take into account that between the time that he was a young man learning how to do this and the time that he got older, he put on a lot of weight. And so when he got locked in the trunk, the compression of the trunk lid being locked down on him caused a heart attack. And his assistants didn't realize anything was wrong until after the trunk was already on fire.
And that sounds a little suspect to me.
Yeah, like
but-
this whole thing sounds suspect.
Right.
And so when they realized something was wrong, they put the trunk out to find Smiley's charred corpse.
Right.
Inside the trunk. Like I said, this is a summer camp
Oh, yeah.
spooky story
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
This is crap. So yeah, it caused him to have the fatal heart attack, and they find his charred remains inside. You can see clear parallels between how Houdini dies in the movies, in that first film that's made about him in the 1950s, where he dies in the water torture chamber,
Right.
compared to how Houdini actually died, which was appendicitis exacerbated by being punched in the stomach.
Right.
So essentially, yeah, they took the movie Houdini's death and
Well, yeah.
you made it Smiley and added fire instead of water. That's basically what happened.
How do we change this just enough so nobody sues us?
Essentially, yes. Similar to, but legally distinct from.
Correct.
So the person who posted the story then forgot about Smiley. Until one day when he was eating in the employee cafeteria, somebody had out a bunch of photos from over the years at the park. Either they were working on some kind of, memorial project or something, but there was a table and it had all these photos on it. And there on the table is a picture of a heavy-set man with a flat boater hat that says Boblo on it, square-cut beard, and it's signed in colored pencil, Smiley.
Okay.
How do you sign in colored pencil?
I don't know, or wax pencil or something.
Okay.
Something that would sign on a photograph.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
didn't have a
probably
Sharpie
like
at the time.
wax or something.
Yeah, whatever it was. And that kind of, blew his mind for a moment there because he had some kind of confirmation that Smiley existed, that there
Right.
was a person who went by that name in the park. The picture was in front of the theater, so presumably he was a magician. There was enough connection there.
Right. Yeah, this was an actual person.
Right.
Yeah.
So he in terms of his personal experience, has confirmation that Smiley existed.
Yeah.
He still doesn't really believe that any of the other stuff happened. The poster eventually moved into park security. And I don't know how many years took place between.
Sure.
But he started when he was basically a young kid, maybe high school age, doing odd jobs around the park, whatever he did. And he was an adult by the time that he was doing the security stuff.
I would hope so.
And again, he kind of forgot about the story of Smiley, as you do. Until one summer day when a tornado hit the park.
Oh, shit. Oh, no.
And according to the poster, the park the park closed the season after this, which would make this 1992, because the park shut down September 30th, 1993.
Okay.
So he said that, the park's last year was the year after this happened. So we have a date,
Okay.
more or less. The poster and his security partner were responsible for evacuating the park and getting people to the ferries and also separate boats that were there for the staff.
Okay.
And getting them out. So they cleared their area. There were multiple security teams. They cleared the section they were responsible for, but then they realized, well, nobody had cleared the theater. So the two of them go to the theater, and then they're going to go to the boats. And they've given them a time frame. They said, look, you have an hour to do this, or however long it was.
Sure.
And if you don't get to the boats, we're going. We're leaving you here, and you shelter in place.
Okay.
That's what you do. So they knew they only had a few minutes to do this at this point. So they go to the theater, confirm that it's empty, and then all of a sudden they get this feeling that all of a sudden just kind of the air changes, and they get this feeling like they're not alone. And he looks up, and his partner is looking at the same thing on stage, and a man walks out from behind the curtain. He's wearing a flat-top boater hat. He's a heavy-set guy, and he's got a square-cut beard.
Okay.
And he looks at them from the stage, and the two of them turn around and they book it. And he says he knows for sure that the other guy was reacting to the same thing he was looking at, whether he saw the same thing,
Sure.
but they were both looking at that. They both take off. They get to the ship that's going to take the employees off the island, and it takes them to Detroit, where they get off, and the storm is not as bad on the mainland. And he said that's the last time he was ever on the island. He did not go back. They closed for the rest of that season, and he did not stay there for the last season.
Okay.
So he was not back on the island. He and his partner did not want to talk to each other about what they had seen. They were very uncomfortable about this.
So many people are like that. I'm like,
I
no,
know.
let's talk.
Right?
No. Talk it out.
So that was one of the only 2 stories I could find about Smiley.
Okay.
The other story was published this year.
Hey, love when that happens.
And I'm pretty sure this one read this original story and just made a creepypasta about it.
Great.
Because the place where it came from, it's a YouTube channel that does both true ghost stories or people's personal ghost stories, but also does creepypasta stuff and doesn't differentiate between which is which.
Oh,
I hate that.
Hate
Yeah.
that.
So, and there are enough details in common with this one that I'm pretty sure it's they just read
Okay.
this story and took it and rewrote it.
Yeah.
But their story essentially was that they were teenagers. Grandpa lived on the island, which there is a small community there.
Yeah.
And he used to work for the park and would
Okay.
tell them stories about the park. And so they decided one day they were going to break in and see the old buildings and stuff, see what they could do.
Yeah.
Because they're dumb teenagers. So
Yeah.
they break into the old theater. And they had been told the story of Smiley, just like this poster had about him, being a magician and stuff. And so they break into the theater. It's all, dirty and cobwebbed and stuff. And they sit down in the audience and are screwing around. And they're, going, on with the show, on with the show. And then one of them is booing. And then all of a sudden, the person who posted or wrote the story said, oh, well, then we started chanting, Smiley, Smiley,
Oh my
Smiley.
gosh.
And when they did that, it's the same thing. A man steps out from behind the curtains
Yeah.
wearing the flat top boater hat, heavy-set guy, square-cut beard. And they booked it. And then he eventually told his grandfather what happened, what they did. And after getting yelled at for breaking into the theater, his grandfather pulls out a book of memorabilia that he had. And he supposedly had a poster for Smiley's original show with a picture or a drawing of him on there saying the amazing Smiley.
Okay.
And the kid says, oh, well, that's him. That's the guy.
Yeah.
So that to me, there are too many things in common that it just seems like somebody just saw the original story and, you take it for
There are enough differences. It could be a different story.
I don't know.
They just had the same experience.
Yeah, I don't know.
If you are the person who posted that story and it was a true story, I apologize. We'll go with that.
But we don't believe you. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so take that for what it's worth.
Could go either way.
Email contact hauntedmitten@gmail.com. Tell
Yeah,
us.
right.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
So, something about this story just grabbed me. I don't know what it was. I don't know that it was just because magicians are interesting to me. Whatever it was. But normally this was a goofy enough story that I was like, this sounds dubious at best. But the person does acknowledge the dubious parts.
Sure.
He acknowledges that the actual story about Smiley burning and stuff, that sounds like baloney.
Right.
That does not sound true.
Yeah.
That is a thing that you would be able to look up in a newspaper if somebody burned to death live on stage. You would find that information.
Yes, you can.
Yeah. Can confirm newspapers love writing about people dying,
Oh, yeah. Love it.
especially back in
So-
the day.
I immediately went, okay, what can I confirm?
Yeah.
Stupidly, of course, the first thing I tried to confirm was there ever a Smiley the Magician? Now, this was a vaudeville era magician.
Mm-hmm.
So chances are you're not really going to find anything unless they were super duper famous.
Right. Because there was like a million of them.
Right.
So,
And you're
Correct.
dealing with Canada and the U.S.
And you're dealing with
Right.
Canada and the U.S. You're dealing with basically people who are itinerant,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So I could not find anything on Smiley the Magician yet.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. I'm going to melt your brain. It'll be great.
Yeah, that's right. I'm so excited. Melt it.
Now, when the storm happened in this story, he says they closed for the rest of the season to repair the damage to the park. So I went, well, can I find anything about a season at Boblo Island where they closed early?
You should be able to, yeah.
Couldn't find anything there. So now this is starting to look real dubious to me, right?
You're like, nope.
So I thought about what else can I try and confirm? What is the thing I can find? And I thought, well, the weather. That's a thing you keep records of.
Right.
Even if you didn't, even if it wasn't big enough news that the park closed early for the season, you keep track of the weather real studiously. You can look that up.
Especially if it caused a park to close early.
Right.
Right. Or at least, damage enough to
Right.
evacuate places.
And I had a rough date.
Right.
Because we know that the guy says it happened the year before the park closed, the year before the final season. So I know it had to happen around 1992. So 1992, according to Wikipedia, poor weather hurt attendance goals, but they don't say anything specific about closing early or storm damage or anything like that.
Okay.
However, August 28th, 1990, 3 tornadoes hit southern Ontario at the same time.
Ooh.
And now this is 20 years between the time that this supposedly happened and the time that the guy tells the story.
Yeah.
I'm willing to give you 2 years.
Oh, yeah. No, people
Yeah.
remember things wrong all the time.
Right. And the year after 1991 is when the ferries stopped running.
Right.
1992, the park had already started selling off rides and things.
Okay.
Namely, there was a historic carousel that they sold piecemeal to collectors.
Oh.
And it was big news because people were mad that this historic carousel was being dismantled
Right.
and sold in pieces. So the decline of the park, the starting of closing things down, did start happening in 1991, the year after these 3 tornadoes hit.
Right.
So my guess is he's probably thinking about 1990 when these 3 tornadoes hit. Because the way he describes it is the storm was bad enough that it was blowing ride parts around. Like the log flume logs were rolling down the trail.
Jesus. Okay.
Like it was bad.
Well, and if he took the ferries to get off the
The
island,
ferries had to be running,
they
correct?
had to be running.
Yes.
So my guess is it's actually 1990, not 1992, and that 20 years down the line, he's
Yeah.
just kind of misremembering it.
And he conflated the decline of the park with the closing of the park.
Correct.
Yeah. Or the ferries stopping running.
Fair stop.
Right.
Yeah.
And if he was not working at the park again after that incident,
Yeah.
then that time may have been compressed as well.
For sure.
Well,
So
if the ferries stopped running, how did people get to the park?
Well, you could still get there from the Ontario side. There
So-
was still a
oh,
boat that went from there.
So just the U.S.
Just
was
the
cut
Detroit.
off.
Yes, correct. The U.S. was cut
The
off.
riffraff.
Correct.
Yeah.
And there was supposedly like a lot of violent incidents that started happening on the ferries,
Mm.
to the point where like the Canadian police at one point had to wait on the other side armed to deal with some real.
Oh, shit. They actually got out their guns.
Yes, yeah. So there was, there was a social
They-
decline kind
They
of.
didn't. You're right. They
And, like-
didn't want the riffraff coming anymore because they just
Essentially,
caused
yeah.
problems.
I know what Windsor thinks of Detroit. I've
Yeah.
read several articles about it. But that would make sense because that the ferries no longer running from the U.S. side is effectively closing it to us
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because driving around to the other side
We're not
isn't
doing it.
worth it.
No.
Right.
That's a drive.
Yeah. We're not doing it.
So yeah, I'm willing to give you 2 years.
Yeah.
I believe that. So now I've got confirmation about the weather thing and about the tornadoes, which put me back on in the okay. This story is plausible camp.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, I went, okay, I'm back on Smiley. What there's gotta be something that I can dig up on a person with that name, Smiley Smilovich.
That's a very interesting name. Yes.
So I started looking at find a grave. Could I find somebody named Smiley Smilovich buried in Detroit? No. Or in Michigan? No. I didn't look up on Amherstburg. I should have.
Oh, right.
But what I found when I went, oh, wait, Houdini.
Right.
Was there anybody nicknamed Smiley associated with Houdini?
Right.
Because the story is that he was Houdini's assistant for a while.
Right.
That's a thing I should be able to find. It turns out there was a Sam Smiley Smilowitz. Or
Oh.
Smilowitz. I don't know how he would have pronounced it.
Okay.
He was an art student at McGill University in Montreal. He sketched Houdini at a university lecture October 19th, before Houdini died.
Okay.
He gave the sketch to Houdini, and Houdini liked it so much that he invited him backstage at the Princess Theatre later that week in Montreal to do another sketch.
Okay.
Smiley brings with him 2 other students, Jacques Price, and a guy they didn't know. How the other guy got in on this, nobody has an explanation for. Smiley acknowledges he didn't know who this guy was, but he came with him.
Okay.
Named J. Gordon Whitehead. It was J. Gordon Whitehead who delivered the fatal punch that led to Houdini's death.
Oh, shit.
Smiley was the only witness anyone could find to the punch, to what happened backstage in Montreal.
Wow.
And the insurance company for Houdini's wife contacted him. They had his contact information because it was on the back of the sketch that he had given Houdini.
Oh, right.
And so he was the only witness that they could interview to confirm that they owed her the insurance money.
Wow.
And he later did another sketch for the insurance company of what happened that night. And
Oh,
you
wow.
can find that sketch online.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh.
So so there's a couple of things that may have happened here, I think.
Yeah.
One, either his story and the magician's story just got conflated, that somebody just took his story and extrapolated on it. He was never a magician. He was an art student.
Right.
It's also possible that some magician in the vaudeville era, in order to give himself credibility and increase his own reputation, took Smilowitz's story, said it was about him, added the other details, and then later on ended up working at Boblo Island. And then that was the story that he would tell people. That's entirely possible, especially in that era.
Yeah, and why wouldn't you? Especially, how are people going to follow up?
Right.
Yeah,
and
people
that's
made up stories about themselves all the time.
Yeah,
Well, and you know, a magician is somebody who is paid to lie to you with your consent.
it's true.
Like, that is the job description.
Yeah.
So
He could have just flat out made up the story and had no knowledge of this other Smiley.
that's possible too, or it was
Right?
like that's a name that I mean I assume he did because the names are that similar. I doubt his name was even Smilowitz or Smilovitz or Smilovich or whatever.
I don't know. I can think of a poet that existed in the, I believe, the late 1800s, J.B. Smiley.
Okay.
He wrote a poem about Kalamazoo, which I mostly have memorized because
It's like, oh, that's why you know
who
him.
does that? His name is J.B. Smiley, and he was a
Okay.
poet. So
Okay.
Okay.
don't know if he was a magician,
Yeah.
but he wrote poetry.
Interesting.
So yeah, I mean I would not put it past a professional magician to have known the story of Sam Smilowitz and said that, oh, this story was about me and I was his apprentice and I was there the night he died and you know, I have his tricks
Yeah.
and things just to make it more desirable to come and see him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's a possibility. It's also possible that somebody just knew vaguely remembered the Smilowitz story with Houdini and added it, you know, or made a story up about somebody else or about a ghost in the theater. But if the person posting this, you know, did in fact see what he says he saw, that this is not just made up, you know, the question is, and he asked this question at the end of his story, did the ghost exist first or did the legend exist first? Was this a story that somebody made up to explain the ghost? They knew that the ghost was a guy named Smiley because they had the photographic evidence that that was what the guy looked like.
There was a dude. Yeah.
Yeah. But he never says that anybody told him that Smiley's ghost was there. The story that he gets told is the death of Smiley.
Right.
So the other question is, did he project what he knew onto whatever phenomena was happening?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a possibility too, that this was what he expected to see, so that's what he saw.
Fuck.
Yeah. That's what we do on this show.
Ooh,
Yeah.
That is what we do on this show.
So there's enough like confirmable data here for me to go, okay, this is in the realm of plausible now for me, this story.
Right.
That there's enough that detail that I buy. This person may have seen what he thinks he saw, or he may
Yeah.
have seen something that he had this experience.
Oh, yeah.
But it was for some reason a story that grabbed me. I found it really interesting. That's
Well, yeah, I just love how, like, it may not have had, like, there's a person, there's a place, there's a happening.
Mhm.
They may not be connected, but it's all enough to be like, okay, well, at least some part of it existed.
right. And the person who
Right.
told the story, acknowledges that here's the stuff that sounds like crap.
Yeah,
Here's the stuff
Yeah.
that I don't believe.
right.
Here's the stuff that's questionable. But that I
But
have.
here's what I saw.
Here's what I saw. Here was what happened before that to confirm some things for me. So
Yeah.
I really wish I had that picture of Smiley that he saw.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, my gosh.
which I mean, who knows? Maybe that picture's buried somewhere. God only knows. But like one of the things that's interesting to me, and Chris and I were talking about this before we came out to record today. Why do you think it is that certain types of location seem to always be haunted? So like theme parks or amusement parks. Because I know
Yeah.
Cedar Point is notoriously haunted. Krista had said the hotel there is supposed to be haunted. I have always heard that the dining room upstairs that you can rent out from the arcade at Cedar Point is haunted.
Yeah.
Disney is supposed to be haunted.
Oh, yeah.
I know Kings Island is supposed to be haunted, which is the one down in Ohio. Something about amusement parks. Same thing
Right.
with like hotels and theaters. What is it about those types of location?
Yeah, we just did theaters.
We did.
Yeah.
The first thing that comes to my mind is lots of people and lots of energy.
hmm
So there's lots of and very particular kinds of energy, especially at an amusement park. Joy, of course, because
Mm-hmm.
you probably aren't going there when maybe you're going there and you're super sad, but that's probably not the majority.
Fear on the rides.
Fear, yeah, and just excitement and just a whole bunch of energy building and building and building from all the years of all the people walking through those gates. And it just, whether or not ghosts are dead people, I don't know, question mark, probably not, I don't know, question mark. But there's enough energy there that something happens.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
Theaters, same thing. There's a bunch of people. There's a bunch of emotion. And all of that emotion gets poured into the place. So
They're
I don't know.
also all three of those very transitory spaces that
true.
you're there temporarily.
Right.
You're there for a day or you're there for a week or
Right.
whatever it is, unless you work there. But they're not spaces that you stay in.
Right. You're not there forever. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Which makes me think, oh, they're like liminal spaces. They're the places in between.
Kind of. Yeah. Very similar anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like in the case of theaters, it's so accepted. Oh yes, all theaters have a ghost.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
like
That's
is
theater
it the Pease
tradition.
Auditorium at EMU, which has a new name now, I think. But there's people made up a story about a theater ghost. So whenever you look up like haunted Ypsilanti, you usually will see that listed, and it's been debunked because the person that made it up was like, yeah, I totally made that up.
Yeah.
But like it's a theater, so of course it has to have a ghost. So
Right.
let's make up a story about a theater student committing suicide because that's usually what happens.
Yes.
That's usually what the story is, and it's complete bunk.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just tradition for theaters to have ghosts, and I think that that makes their ghosts.
Mhm.
People just made up the story, and then if that story gets told enough times and is believed enough times, boom, Man, you got yourself a ghost.
I have never
Congrats.
worked in a theater that had a ghost.
Really?
Yeah. No.
Oh, ours did.
Cranbrook didn't. Tulane didn't.
That you know of.
I refuse to believe that any part of New Orleans does not have at least 4 ghosts in one spot at the same time. No, ours at when I was the assistant house manager at Pacific, shout out Pacific in the middle of nowhere in Oregon. We had a ghost. I don't remember a ghost's name, but I know that we had one.
And when I started looking up Boblo, I was like, I will be shocked if I can't find anything about a
for
ghost
sure.
on Boblo Island. But Smiley was the first one that came up.
Oh.
Weirdly enough, and one of the things that the guy who posted the story said was, the reason that he sort of wrote the story off was, you like, especially like as a teenager, if you're working there, you were always getting stories about, somebody got thrown off the Ferris wheel, somebody fell off the roller coaster, somebody, there were always these like urban legend stories that you heard. And so any story then you start writing off as, well, that's
Right.
just another urban
And
legend.
if it's not Action Park, they're just stories.
Yes, correct.
But if it's Action
Correct.
Park, you need to call 911 right now. Love Action Park.
Lord.
What a horrible place.
Do not know what that is.
Oh my God! It's
in New Jersey?
It's in New Jersey. Well, it was in New
Yeah.
Jersey, and it is.
Oh, it's still there. It's closed.
It's just closed. Yeah. Action Park was like
AKA Traction Park.
Traction Park. Was notorious for its injuries and deaths.
I mean,
like,
People have died people have died at Cedar Point.
oh, for sure. Now up that by like a lot per year.
Because you don't care about anybody's actual safety. You
They're-
allow the employees
they
to drink and smoke weed on duty.
And they're all teenagers.
And they're all teenagers.
And nobody's properly trained in anything, and you just don't run an amusement park and just not give a
Yeah.
shit about people.
You have water rides.
So amusement
that-
parks before Cedar Fair bought everyone.
Yes.
Yes.
But Action Park became like the notorious joke.
Yes.
Okay.
They made
Because
a
it's named Action Park.
satirical film starring
they
one of the guys from
did.
Jackass about it.
Yeah. I don't remember.
I
Who?
can't. Yeah. Johnny Knoxville.
Oh, was it him?
I think so.
All right.
But yeah, notoriously ill run because nobody cared.
No. And like should have been shut down decades and decades and decades ago and just was allowed to keep going despite the lack of safety on pretty much every single
Well,
every
where did you
single
say it was?
attraction.
New Jersey.
That's why.
Because as long as you paid your mafia
Yeah.
taxes, then
Then you know. You got it.
Yeah, as long as you bribe the right person. You're
Then we're
fine.
good.
Sorry, New Jersey.
I'm not.
I mean, Detroit was like that for a very long time.
Yeah.
Much of my lifetime. So I grew up with a very negative opinion of Detroit, as did most of Michigan. Things
And
have
the
changed quite a
country.
bit. It's true. Things have changed quite a bit in Detroit. It's astonishing, really, to see the changes in the last 40 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is what I have for you about Boblo Island.
Amazing.
So there is, like I said, a documentary that just came out this year. It only came out in the last couple of months called Boblo: A Detroit Fairy Tale. Ferry.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Look at you
Yeah.
being smart.
And it details the preservation efforts for the ships, for the 2 boats. And also the civil rights movement connections, Boblo Island, and how important that was,
Cool.
and the general history. And it combines live footage with claymation,
Oh,
with stop
that's
motion
cool.
animation. Yeah, it is narrated by Martha Reeves, the Motown singer. The trailer, because I haven't gotten a chance to see the film yet. Like I said, it's supposed to have its Ann Arbor debut at Michigan Theater day after
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then you could stream it actually right now. It's like $20 to stream the movie and the special features online, or you
Okay.
can just stream the movie for $12, or just the special features for $8.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it deals with the civil rights movement and all that stuff. The trailers imply anyway that it focuses on 3 main people. One of them is a local doctor who bought the St. Clair in order to preserve it. And from what I've heard, somebody had bought it for $1 at one point. I don't know if it was him or not. the guy who essentially is a guy who used to work for Boblo Island, doing concessions on the ship,
Okay.
and has a whole miniature Boblo Island in his house. He's got
God. Wow, people love this place. Okay.
Oh yeah, they really did.
yeah.
it's-
People were
it's-
devastated when it closed.
Yeah, I mean, it is a big part of Detroit history.
Mhm.
yeah.
I mean, it was open 1898. I mean,
And
it's
it's true. Yeah.
and again, I'd be surprised 1898 that it didn't have a ghost. And the third person is a local psychic who claims that the SS Columbia talks to her.
Fuck yes.
She says that the St. Clair never talked to her, and she's very glad that it doesn't. She doesn't want to know what the St. Clair has to say.
Oh no. Oh no. Why? Is the
I
St.
don't
Clair
know.
mean?
I don't know.
I don't know because it won't talk to
Is the
her.
Columbia nice?
I don't know.
Nicer?
I have
I
seen
can't
some.
wait.
I've
And
seen some videos of like the local Detroit news interviewing the guy who is doing the restoration and getting a miniature tour of the ship because it's mostly together. I mean, it's for the most part safe for people to walk on.
yeah.
But
Okay.
it's not open to the public yet. I
Right.
don't believe.
And
But
for-
I've seen a couple of like Fox 2 or whatever the local news stations
Oh,
are.
okay.
So.
Yeah, and like I was watching yesterday. Well, you were still at work. Some different footage, different people exploring Boblo Island, stuff like that. One of the footage pieces that was shown was when the fire happened on the St. Clair, and you could see the guy from Fox News like crying
Oh.
as he was trying to report because
my
of how big a piece of Detroit history this was.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and also like I said, a big piece of civil rights history that people didn't really
Yeah.
know about.
Right.
Until kind of really recently that it came kind of back to the forefront that that had happened.
Well, and you'd said the Detroit draft dodgers went through
Yes,
Boblo
yeah. A
Island.
thing I found actually just in the last few minutes before we started recording, but we were waiting for Kimmy, was that it was a prime point for draft dodgers to escape the Vietnam War.
shit.
So what you would do is you would buy a round trip ferry pass, right, from Detroit. You would go to the island, you would trade your return trip ticket with someone from the Amherstburg side, and you would go to Canada that way.
Oh shit. What a
Yeah.
good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the person from Canada would just go to Detroit for the day.
Sure.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. What a good idea.
right?
Yeah.
Good job, draft dodgers.
And again, that's another thing, just kind of adding energy to
yeah. Oh, for sure.
to the island.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now the island is like luxury condos and like a marina, resort community kind of thing.
Boring.
Yeah. The park is privately owned, the land. They've tried various redevelopment things with it. And everything has always kind of fallen through and stuff. Like I said, they took the Space Needle down in 2021. So that actually happened during the pandemic. They took the
Yeah.
Space Needle down because they felt it was no longer structurally sound.
Right.
I'm surprised it took this long, honestly.
Yeah, I know.
I kind of am too. Yeah, it was the last of the rides to really still be there.
Right.
The bumper car pavilion is still there. The theater is still there. The building, the dance hall is still there.
They built things better back in the day.
Yeah.
Right. I want to go so
You
bad.
would think the dance hall would be haunted. I would expect
Get a
that.
canoe.
There's probably some kind of white lady, some kind of Resurrection Mary hanging around
Something,
there.
I don't know. I don't know.
There will be now.
There
'cause
will be
someone's-
now.
Someone's going to make up that story.
And I have
You're
to
welcome.
I have to assume that was probably a prime way for bootleggers and stuff to get through.
Ooh.
Oh, probably.
I couldn't find any. I didn't see any history with bootlegging through the island.
No, because they were good at it.
Right.
Maybe. I mean, and in the wintertime, you just wait for the river to freeze over and you just walk
Yeah.
across.
Mhm.
That's why I always believe whenever some place is like, oh, like this was a speakeasy. I'm like,
Every place was.
can't tell it's not.
Yeah, probably.
It was just good at its job.
I mean, you had a boat right there ready to get you,
Yeah.
like going back and forth. It's amazing to me that it was the same boats that entire time, too. From
That's
1902. Like,
Nuts.
that's.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason for the preservation efforts really is because they are the last of their kind.
Yeah.
There are no other boats like that exist.
Wow.
So,
Save those boats.
yeah. And actually, if you go to the Detroit Fairy Tales website, they do have links to all the different preservation efforts,
Okay.
as well as to a preservation effort for the home of the person who was at the center of the civil rights case, which is one of the 10 most at-risk historic buildings in the U.S.
Oof.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's also another, I don't remember if it was another film about her that they were trying to finance. But they have links to all that stuff on Detroit Fairy Tales website, as well as where you can stream through Eventbrite
Cool.
the actual movie.
Excellent.
There's another documentary that I think PBS did, the local PBS station. It's about a 20-minute documentary that you can find on YouTube
Okay.
about Boblo Island. And that Krista and I watched a number of years ago. So, yeah,
Damn.
that
that's
is
cool.
that is Boblo Island and Smiley the Magician.
Still don't know about that, but
I
really
Yeah.
love it.
I don't know about like I said, I'm willing to believe that this guy saw something that matched what he thought he was going to see,
For sure.
but
Yeah.
whether
It's a shame he didn't talk to the other guy that was there.
Oh, I know.
yeah,
Compare notes.
Communicate.
right. Well, and he, after that year, like he didn't go back to the island really,
Mhm.
so he
Right.
like just lost contact with that guy, so he
Right.
couldn't even tell you who that guy was.
Right.
But it partly did surprise me that nobody else ever said anything about having an encounter with Smiley aside from that one YouTube video. But if the park closed after that year or within 2-3 years, after that, there was nobody there to make
Yeah.
more claims about that. And it's also possible that that was one of the only times that it happened because of the heightened emotion from the storm.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? That you're projecting all of this energy.
People's emotions, people's energy is storm's energy.
Yeah.
Psh, ghosts.
That maybe that was what kind of conjured Smiley from
Dude.
his subconscious or his expectations or whatever you want
Yeah.
to call it.
Mhm.
That was the reason that nobody really ever reported there being a ghost there.
Who do we know that owns a boat?
We know someone who has a plane, small plane.
Oh, that's true.
Kimmy, do not confess your crimes ahead of the.
I didn't say shit. No, I think that would be amazing. Like I that would be so cool to visit that.
Yeah.
Just walk around. Well, I love abandoned stuff anyway.
It would be, for me, I feel like it would be surreal because, I did. I was very young when I was there.
You were still there.
'Cause, yeah, probably 1990. I mean, I started school in 87, so I was very young.
Yeah.
But I remember the bumper cars for sure.
Well-
I think the Space Needles, because that was probably the first time I was on one.
Mm.
Because I love them. They're fun.
Well, and one of the things I was kind of thinking about was why couldn't I find a report of the park closing early that year? But if it was 1990, and the tornadoes happened August 28th,
Mm-hmm.
if they closed typically the end of September, that's only a month. So it probably wasn't that worth reporting that the park was going to be closed early.
Right.
Yeah.
It might be like a little blurb or something.
But it wouldn't be
But it's not.
Yeah.
If a park had to close for like half a season,
right.
then you're like, holy shit, park closed half a season.
Right.
But if it's like park
Cou-
closed a couple weeks early.
Yeah.
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 Or if they typically closed at like Labor Day, let's say, that's a
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that, may be an explanation as to why I couldn't find that part of the story.
And it might have
Yeah,
been on
maybe.
like a blurb on the evening news.
That could have been too.
And you're
yeah.
not going to find that.
No.
Yeah, that could have been too.
Yeah.
So I guess the moral of the story is look up the weather. I don't know.
I love that.
Always,
Yeah.
Always do your research.
Yeah.
It can be found.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
But I will give you guys the links for all the different stuff that I had
Sweet. Yeah, because we got
I had used and found, and you can post the picture that Smiley did for the insurance company.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's so cool.
I was kind of looking at like there were pictures of him too, and I was like, does he look like he could match that description? No,
Mhm.
he doesn't
Oh,
look like he matches the description of
Okay.
Smiley
Yeah.
the Magician. So Smiley the Magician was apparently a separate dude.
I don't know, but there might be a Smiley the Magician in that theater still. So
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
And it's all boarded up and stuff. So
yeah, dang it.
yeah. Now I did look at the comments under that guy's story.
Mm-hmm.
And he does answer some comments. He doesn't answer other comments. So like people asked, is this a true story or is this a thing that you made up? But it's on a website for stories of stuff that happened to you. It's
Sure.
maybe he didn't feel the need to answer that guy's
Right.
query because
Maybe
it
you
should
look
be
at where you are.
self-explanatory.
Right. Yeah.
But he did answer other people's stories about, hey, I worked at Boblo from this time to this time. Yeah, I remember it. Are you part of the Boblo Island Facebook group? People who used to work there. And he said, yeah, I don't really do social media. That's not my thing.
Yeah.
And he would probably be in his 60s by now. This person.
Yeah. True.
So he does, the guy is active. He does respond to comments and things, sometimes. So that is what it is. He did not answer, oh, is this a true story or did you make this up? But
No.
I don't feel you need to necessarily answer that given where you put it.
Right.
So,
No, I wouldn't have
Mhm.
either.
yeah.
That's so cool. Nice.
So
Well, thank you.
you're welcome. You didn't have to do any of that research at all.
Nope.
Nope, me neither.
Excellent. It's my favorite way to do things. All right. Well, that'll do it for season 4 of Haunted Mitten.
Yeah.
Woo! Woo! Crazy. Yeah, thank you again to Greg for doing
Yeah,
all
you're
of that
welcome.
work and saving us, research. Always appreciate that.
That's the most in depth I think we've had of someone coming on.
Yeah, I know.
We've had people share some personal experience. The first season,
Yeah.
Aaron shared some personal experiences.
But nobody
you
like
know.
teaching us on our own podcast. I like that. We're gonna have you back. We're gonna have you back every season. You got
Now I've got to
anything?
find more stuff you haven't talked about, and that's
Aha, good luck, my friend.
Oh, there's so much we haven't talked
that was the
about.
hardest part.
We
I
can
know.
go for many more seasons.
It's true. Got any pluggables?
Yeah, well, depending on when this episode comes out, I guess. My next show with Neighborhood Theater Group is my play. It'll be the stage reading of my play, Lee's Grand Tiki, and that is the first weekend in March, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh yeah, this will be out
So
way
is that-
before that.
Second, third, fourth, or third, fourth, fifth, whatever
I
that
don't know.
is.
It's the first weekend.
First weekend in March, yes.
Yeah.
Over at the Back Office Studio in Ypsilanti. So if you are local, it is a free show, $5 suggested donation.
Hooray!
Yeah, come and support some nonprofit theater.
Heck yeah!
Yeah.
Heck yeah!
Yeah. That's about the only other thing I think I got going on. Fairy Tales Punk Volume 2 is now available on the internets. You can buy it.
Yes.
It's real.
True.
It's real.
Finally.
Finally. Or
really
if you
like-
happen to see any of the three of us in person, you could probably buy it off of us.
I'm not in this one.
Oh, you're not in this one. That's
I'm
right.
not.
I don't know. Did you order our copies?
I did.
Did you mention your aunt's
I
copy?
did.
Okay.
Haven't heard anything back yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that one. My story in that one because it's about the specter of death.
Excellent. Good.
It was creature feature, and my creature is death.
Death. You're welcome, Dustin.
Anyone plays that game.
You have a podcast.
I have a podcast. I'm way behind on recording that podcast by
Whatever.
a couple of
It
months
still
at this point.
exists.
Yeah. Cinema Guano.
If you like weird,
If you like weird
Film.
movies,
Yeah.
Kimmy and Aaron are frequent guests. Krista and I host the podcast.
We do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
pretty great.
watch a weird movie and then we talk about it.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Seen some weird ass shit.
We see some weird movies, man.
we do the Christmas one.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
Christmas
don't have a
one.
Christmas one.
Sweet.
Yeah.
You can find Haunted Mitten at Haunted Mitten, like everywhere. Just search it. You'll find it.
I mean, specifically, it's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Like we don't do TikTok. We don't do.
we are not the
Tumblr.
TikTok people. That is Michigan Mystery.
Yes. Which, if you do
Sorry.
TikTok and you are interested in that stuff, apparently they're really good. Check them out.
Apparently, they're great.
Yeah.
We get complimented for them all the time.
Do you really?
Yes, we do. Yeah. No, we're old and TikTok is hard. It requires real effort.
I can only handle so many accounts.
It's true.
Too many passwords.
You graciously
No.
handle our social media because I'm very bad at it. So thanks.
I batch post,
Yeah.
man.
That's fine. I can't even do that.
And you guys are doing Michigan Paracon? Is that the plan?
Look, man. I don't know if we will be able to get into doing Paracon, but I desperately want to go to Paracon.
Okay.
And we will at least have bookmarks or cards, and I will at least hand them to the Newkirks.
I know you had talked about going around my birthday.
Yes, that's
Because
what
we
it
had talked
is.
about also doing a trip to Mothman Country.
God, I want to do that too. Crap. Yes, because that's when Paracon is,
Yeah.
but they've already closed. I think they're closed to vendors, but I'm
Vendors,
not sure. However, we did just get the email for Mid-Michigan Paracon, which is 2 days now.
Nice.
Oh, excellent.
We did get the vendor email to come on and sign up. So I'm going to probably be doing that soon. So it's at the same place. It's just 2 days instead of 1. So this time we will absolutely get a
Yeah,
hotel.
we will
And that's
100% be
October
getting a
again?
hotel.
Or November?
November. Yeah.
That's kind of like the end of our con season.
It is, yeah. It is, yeah.
Because we should be doing Frankenfest in June.
Frankenfest in June. Frankenfest in September. Turner Dodge House in
October?
October, I think.
October. It's like, I don't know. Whatever happened. And then book us.
Yeah.
Book us for
absolutely.
your podcast.
We're available.
Book us for your library. We do library shows.
Yep.
We've done 2.
Yeah,
Book
we've
them
done
for your
2
private party.
libraries. We've done a few podcasts.
They will come out to your private party and tell ghost stories.
Oh,
I
heck yeah,
promise.
can
No
talk
joke.
ghosts.
I really will.
I
Yeah,
would. I
will
would totally
absolutely do it.
I would totally talk ghosts.
Invite us. We're not that expensive. You can find me at K Gray Writes everywhere. Whatever.
TikTok.
Not yet. Working on it. No, because Twitter is my beloved Twitter is going down really freaking fast.
See, and I haven't noticed like any changes.
It's all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which doesn't so far has not affected me. So
No, but it's still I'm not super into supporting what do we call him now? Elongated Musket. To get around his
I mean, I
stupid
don't give him money.
security things. I don't either, but I still don't like he's not doing good things.
Yeah. No, I
yeah,
get it,
but
'cause
he's also losing money.
he's
Like
still
for-
getting ad revenue
hemorrhaging
from,
money.
You know,
He's still
great.
getting ad revenue.
from the few remaining.
Mm.
I have not seen an ad on my Twitter feed.
They're
in a
they're
while.
mostly online casinos.
They are. It's really, really fucking annoying.
Very casino heavy.
So I am on Mastodon now, which is like a different kind of Twitter, and I can't figure it out.
And see, and I haven't heard good things about them either.
And because I'm old.
I know there were some security concerns and things like that.
Yeah,
with-
privacy, a lot of privacy concerns.
with that one. And what was the other new one
I have no
that was
idea.
basically MySpace? I can't remember what it was called now.
Oh shit, we got a new MySpace?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know.
want
I know
that.
our friend Liana Kieber is on
Yeah.
there.
Give me that.
I know a few writers have gone to that
Yeah.
one.
I want new
But
MySpace.
it's effectively it is Nuevo MySpace.
Hell yeah.
I think it started with an S. I can't remember.
I don't.
I know I had
don't
mentioned it to
remember.
you because then you mentioned Mastodon, and then like the next day is when a bunch of people were talking about the privacy issues with Mastodon.
Yeah. that essentially whoever runs your particular server
Yeah.
can look at whatever DMs happen on that server, whether they are involved with them or not.
Yeah, they can see everything you do and post,
Yeah.
whether it's privately or not.
Right.
And I was like, well, I guess that depends on how much you trust the person running the server and the other people on the server.
And I don't even understand the servers, dude. It's very
I don't
complicated.
either.
I don't get it.
I looked into Mastodon and I'm like, no, that's too much.
The
Too
only
much.
This is a lot.
The only people I know on Mastodon are gamers, and
Mhm.
then the people on like the Twitter writing community have gone to this other one.
Oh, okay.
Mhm. Yeah, seems like it.
Well, I'm sticking on Twitter for now because all my paranormal peeps are still there.
Yeah.
So until they leave. But I mean, we're all adding each other other places to make sure that we don't like lose each other.
I
That's
do
nice.
I do enjoy the people that are just like on Twitter to shit on Elon Musk.
I
That
do
d-
love
that
those
delights
people.
me.
hilarious.
I love those people a whole lot. They have
I
a special
haven't
place in my
seen. I
heart.
haven't jumped ship because like when everybody was mad at Facebook, they all tried to jump ship and failed. And so I tried MeWe, or like WeMe or whatever the hell it's called. I think it's MeWe. That a ton of people signed up for and then never did anything with.
Oh, yeah.
I have like 5 friends on there, and nobody posts anything anymore.
Anyway, I don't feel like editing any more of this out. So, Krista is Krista K. Coburn. All the places we talked about, minus Mastodon and the weird and
Yeah, we'll
new,
see.
new MySpace that I want.
Yeah, we'll see where things go.
Yeah.
We may
have
expand.
a merch store. It's back on the website because
HauntedMitten.com.
we have a glorious friend who knows things, who knows computery things. Is that it? And a Patreon.
Yeah.
that I swear to God we'll post more on. I swear.
Yeah. Well, I'm working on the story for Christmas because
Excellent.
I like recording
Yeah.
vintage ghost stories because they're free.
Yeah.
So and it's just like a gift for Christmas. Here, have a spooky story to listen to.
Have some stories to listen to by your YouTube fireplace like me.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, we have our bookshop, which we didn't mention any books, so
Nope.
but you can still go there and buy books.
You sure can. They're great gifts. I think this comes out after Christmas, but they're great gifts anyway.
Absolutely.
All right. And as always, happy haunting.